You gotta be the best. Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. Just one more best of 3 to go here for Group B. Sadly, if you're watching this stream in this language, you know that Reynor is out. Thank you for staying with us.
Yeah.
Up next is going to be the rematch of soO versus GuMiho. Most of this group has been really fast, minus Reynor's slow death with the 0-2. soO versus GuMiho did look really different. soO looked like in really, really good shape. Had basically no issues against what GuMiho did. GuMiho did play kind of different from what we expected. GuMiho played a lot more like a textbook Terran here. I don't know if he's going to try to do that again. I imagine he won't, right?
I think he goes back into the mech the way that he was playing against Reynor, because that just seems to be playing a lot better for him today than the opening builds that he did. And I don't think it would be even that difficult of an adjustment, because you think back to the first 2 games he played against soO, he did the same build in game 1 against Reynor there. And just a little bit of a deviation, throwing down the armory, going into the mech units, and GuMiho becomes GumiGod the same way that he did against Reynor. And his mech is looking scary, as scary as ever. I mean, that game 2 against Reynor, I was thinking that he was potentially dead at a couple different moments, but he just barely knows how to walk the line and survive.
He's definitely going to be riding the high from that victory in the last game. I mean, that was a really cool way to end it out. But, you know, the reality is now he has to go up against soO, who already crushed him once.
That's right.
soO doing some really good control play. Really seemed to, like, understand GuMiho better than anybody's understood anyone in this group so far. So GuMiho has to really reinvent his play style, take whatever he could learn from that 0-2 that he had versus soO now, and try to recreate a better, well, I guess the best possible version of himself he can have here. Because one of these 2 players is about to be eliminated.
Yeah, soO looked really good in that first series, too. He was not afraid to go a little bit off textbook with some early aggression there in game number 1 against GuMiho. And so GuMiho has to keep that in the back of his mind. He's been pretty greeny today overall. Some really fast third command centers, some really rapid expansions. And soO does not seem like the kind of player today in this matchup to let that go unpunished.
Yeah, well, soO is definitely in better form. He's also modified his play quite a bit. So the question is going to be, you know, what kind of play style is GuMiho, excuse me, going to have here? It looks like we're ready. We're going to start this out on Site Delta. Remember, the winner goes on and the loser's out. Okay, in the top left is soO, and the bottom right is GuMiho.
Wondering if GuMiho is going to go for the same skeletal structure of a build that he did pretty much every other TVZ so far today, because, you know, we talk about how deep his knowledge is of Terran in general and how he is not afraid to best out all these crazy strategies, but the way that he approached it today also, by the way, cool first here for soO, that is really early. Hold on.
Yeah.
Enough about GuMiho. What is soO up to?
Yeah.
No gas, so is this just going to be some really safe play? Okay.
It could just be like to make sure that, there's no kind of like
I was getting
cheese
excited.
come in here. No, same thing. I'm like, oh, he's going to rush to do all in.
But yeah, GuMiho, every single game so far has been going for basically the same setup. But we do have a gas actually coming down for soO. Okay, yeah. Forget about GuMiho. I want to see what soO cooks up here, because in his opening series against GuMiho, he really was not afraid to come through the pressure. And I think maybe even having sat on the sidelines and watched the last series against Reynor, I doubt soO really wants to go into the late game against a GuMiho that has the momentum of mech behind him.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those rushes where you try to barrel up the ramp with roaches. You send the Lings first, and the roaches come behind that. You know, it's funny, we were talking about like how GuMiho has to change his play style. in order to like have a better game here, but it looks like soO's just going to interrupt whatever changes could happen and make him deal with this first. So the Lings are going to go around the Reaper, so this is really well timed out.
Yeah, and the command center's on the low ground too, so that is definitely going to have to get canceled. Marine in production, factory just now getting thrown down.
So because Terran feels safe taking the command center on the low ground, oh, he's only going to send 2 and 2. This is even dirtier.
He's a bad person.
He's a bad person. So you see, too, you say, okay, I can deal with this. I just have to try to, you know, assert myself in the low ground. And then he comes in with this. This is so sick.
He draw the Marine out. He's going for the Marine on the ramp. He's going to get the surround right now. The Marine gets taken out. SCV as well on the low ground. More SCVs getting pulled, but is it going to be enough?
Yeah, and keep in mind there's roaches inbound here. So this is a really flimsy spot for Terran.
Lings once again coming in, focusing on that low HP SCV. Trying to get another one, but there's just enough Marines and that Reaper coming back home to hold on. Hellion is in production. And now the Reapers are, not the Reapers, excuse me, the Roaches are streaming across the map. So the command center will finish. And soO is droning behind this, but I think there's potential to get some real damage done here for soO.
Yeah, he's actually, again, okay, he sees it for a split second. Yeah, he turns around. So he's making the Ravagers here. There's still SCVs in the low ground. Some of them are damaged too. The Hellion can't really fight this, so it has to go up the ramp.
GuMiho did not realize until this moment. There's no bunker here on the high ground, only just now getting started. Reactor as well in production. First Cyclone in production too. GuMiho did go for that Hellion first.
There's like still 2 SCVs mining over here, but I guess it is more important to break this open. So he gets that part. The Cyclone is probably the most important unit to watch in the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I would be surprised if soO didn't just try to camp that factory right now.
Yeah. The Cyclone gets out. He's targeting the Ravager. The Ravager's going to run away.
Quick targeting there by GuMiho.
And he just goes for the SCVs, so 7 have been killed so far.
He's going to get that Cyclone too. Maybe one more stutter step. Does, in fact, get it. Hellion goes down as well. Now he can work his way into the main base. All these SCVs have been bruised from the earlier aggression with the Lings, so 10 in total, maybe even 11 going down.
So it's 30 to 20. These SCVs are still here, by the way. It's so funny. And, I mean, this is really good. This is really good for soO.
Yeah.
He's GuMiho, regardless, starts his 3rd command center. I guess, why not?
Yeah, it's the kind of situation where, like, there's not more Roaches coming down the pipeline. You know that for sure here as GuMiho, but that was a well-executed attack there by soO. Got a lot of SCV kills, was able to basically stop all of the building momentum there for Terran. The first Hellion went down. The first Cyclone got taken out.
Kind of a cool opening here from soO. It's interesting how on top of soO, on top of GuMiho, excuse me, soO is in this game.
He's doing a very good job of mixing it up.
When you compare, like, every game these guys have, everything that soO does is, like, I don't know. I'd be curious what the ladder record is with these two, you know. They've probably played against each other so much, but it just seems like soO has a perfect read on how GuMiho's going to behave. So this moment is where GuMiho has an opportunity to try to come back and do some damage. But in the last best of 3, this is where it backfired. By the way, 18 Lings and Ravagers are coming here, so he wants to try to catch this, shut this down, and then hit him again twice as hard.
I wonder if even more Lings are going to be in production. I'm watching that production tab really closely right now, Tasteless, because there is potential for even more damage. And yeah, 10 more Lings get started. So I think soO is not only looking to just try and stop this attack in its tracks, but also move across the map and get even more damage done. The 3rd base at this stage almost even feels like a feign.
Look at this. He's going to slowly send Ravagers over here to the natural. There's 1 bunker. If he has enough Ravagers, he can just pop that. Stim is only halfway done, dude.
Yeah, soO is committing so hard on this attack. He's only just now going back into the drones. Only a couple of units right now in this bunker. First Bile's going to drop down. Bunker already at half HP as it gets repaired. And all the Lings now are coming.
Yeah, I think he could have done a little bit better with this attack. You know,
wow, what a pick.
Nice snipe with that. He's going to try to hit again. He wants to hit these SCVs that are going to be in the front trying to repair. He doesn't quite have enough Ravagers to space out the Biles to do damage. So actually, GuMiho lives through this.
Yeah, this is a pretty big loss here for soO. I was thinking that with that initial push, he was going to be able to get more damage done there on the bunker, but you know, Lings come across the map, and the way that GuMiho set up the wall and add his natural expansion, there just was basically no surface area. Like 4 Zerglings could attack it at a time. And as a result, GuMiho just able to parry this one quite effortlessly, and suddenly you could feel the momentum start to swing back from the early game where soO, with the first blow, was able to get a ton of economic damage done to GuMiho and just really steal the momentum. to his side, and now GuMiho with a beautiful defense.
You know, it's funny because I'm starting to wonder if soO didn't do this. Not that it was a wrong move, but I feel like GuMiho is much more in this game right now.
He is.
You know, he's definitely got a path where he can get through this. 1-1 coming now. He can get a third base in a little bit here. I don't think there's a real opportunity. It seems like it all came down to the fact that one Ravager was killed off at any moment, like right when another one was made, that was killed off, to where he couldn't get enough of a burst damage at the entrance to just open it up and get in. So he's going to take that third base now. I don't think there's any options for soO to do anything other than try to out-expand him.
Yeah, I think soO's just going to have to slow down and play a bit of a reactive game. Just shows how clutch some of the micro is in these moments, too. Is this Cyclone that got dropped out of the medevac and then sniped the low HP Ravager and then just got right back in?
Yeah.
Critical part of the defense there for GuMiho.
Okay, but he's going to push now.
Yeah, I like this.
So he's going to stim and he's going to kill these two queens.
Some big damage. These Lynx can't fight alone. They need the Roaches and Ravagers to come and reinforce because those Stim Marines can kite them for days, Tasteless.
And he's still got the two Ravagers making. It's kind of the same thing that happened during the push, only this time he's on the defending end of this.
Oh, wait, he barely has any Roaches or Ravagers out on the map right now. soO caught a little bit with his pants down right here. That hatchery going to get canceled over at the 12 o'clock position.
And so this is, again, it's the sign of a good player is when you know you've won enough, and now you need to get out and stay ahead.
Yeah, and GuMiho seeing that damage done and seeing how flimsy soO's army was in that moment immediately throws down a 4th command center and a 2nd factory here at the 3rd base. Yeah, that's the kind of push where you get economic damage done, and you're quite happy as Terran to trade out and just escape with 1 medevac worth of units, but he got way more than he bargained for there.
It wasn't like a trade at all, right? He just gets the kill and gets away.
Yeah.
Counterattack comes in here, not too bad. But the push is going to come in here once more, and he can actually pin the Ravager again.
Yeah, luckily there's a lot more reinforcements there at the 3rd base, but these siege tanks in a pretty good position. Vials are going to rain down on these siege tanks, so they get cleaned up. And oh my goodness, there isn't enough meat in front of this army here for soO. The Marines are just absolutely destroying everything.
Yeah, that's that 1-1 upgrade. He's got it. He can keep chasing this down. The Lings get shredded. They can't even do any damage. And, I mean, he might be able to survive this, but he also might just tap out in a little bit.
I mean, that was just so much damage done.
Yeah. He could pick up the tank. No, he's going to try to hold this position now.
I think it's smart. You're basically just parade push from this position.
He basically did a perfect 1-1 timing attack. And I wonder if soO even realized the upgrade's finished when the fight started. Because it looked like a fight where he was confident he should slowly overpower it, and it just totally backfired. Is this going to finish?
Oh, that's worrying. I don't know if soO can actually defend this position. There's so many Marines. Now, there is +1 Carapace here on the Roaches and Ravagers, but the Marines, they just kite their way back to the siege tanks. Siege tank, I guess, is...
Yeah, just 1 siege tank, apparently. Just Ravagers here. And once again, GuMiho just going to do so much damage in this fight, even though I think it's going to... I was going to say, it might be driven away, but now there's another push down here at the bottom.
Yeah, the Queens with a little bit of bad pathing coming in on that side. 2 of them get cleaned up for basically free. And right now we have GuMiho about to take this 4th base here, the command center on the low ground, with an army supply effectively equivalent to a Zerg. He's out-expanding the Zerg and his army. I mean, the army supply of 64 to 73 on paper doesn't look that great, but this is Marine tank medevac against basically pure Roach Ravager, which is like the weakest army in terms of supply you can assemble in StarCraft 2.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely an uphill fight for soO. I don't see an expansion anywhere. I don't see an attempted expansion anywhere, to be totally honest. He might try to counterattack here. Actually, I think he is going to counterattack here. There are 2 medevacs that are dropping. It looks like at 9 o'clock. I think he thought there was going to be a base there, so just kind of click that down, but there's nothing there. This big push is going to come in.
Yeah, going to force a lift here on the 3rd base for a moment as GuMiho is corralling the forces outside the natural expansion.
Yeah, the place where he dropped where there could have been an expansion, he just pushes up here. He's going to take out both of these Evo chambers.
Yeah, he's getting Overlords too. Man, how many Overlords has GuMiho killed today? Destruction. As now soO's going to try and breach this position. It's not the best setup actually here for GuMiho, but the reinforcements coming in from the natural ramp, there's just enough, especially with 2-2 here against the 1-1 of soO.
It's almost like an anti-timing with that attack, right? When it was finally action time, the upgrades had finished.
And this medevac with just 15 HP, barely escaping as well. No Queen there at the 4th base to snipe it down. It just feels like so many of these small trades are going in GuMiho's favor. And now that the double evolution chamber is dead and it's 2-2 to 1-1, these Marines can trade pretty well here against the Roach Ravager.
This is also just tech you don't want to be on forever, right? As Zerg. You can win fights with this, but it just seems like at this point in time with upgrades and everything else, Terran's kind of where they need to be.
I feel like the issue is at this stage for soO is he just doesn't have the economy really to work his way out of this composition. He has to try and win with his comp right here, right now.
He has to basically brute force it, probably in a situation like what we're looking at right now here. He's going to come forward. You know, the tank has not been targeted yet with those corrosive vials. There's actually a drop at 12 o'clock. Our observer hasn't shown yet. Zerg's still doing a lot of damage here. I don't know if he can get much further up.
It's a lot of damage, but these 2-2 Marines are trading way above their weight class here against the Roach Ravager. And once all the Roaches get whittled down, I mean, like, look at how low HP these Ravagers are. The Marines can just pounce on them and get so many kills. soO's walking a very fine line with this aggression right now, and GuMiho's gonna make him pay the price.
Yeah,
SCV's coming forward to tank, and it all gets cleaned up. The 12 o'clock base off screen got taken out. 4 or 5 mules land, add insult to injury.
We still haven't put that on camera yet here. We eventually will see the 12 is gone, guys. So, I mean, I feel like Zerg just fizzles out here. I don't feel like there's much else to be said.
I think he's distance mining right now from the 9 o'clock position. I don't even believe that hatch rate is done. So the mineral income for soO, especially after those mules land, it's less than half of what GuMiho has. And I think that's going to translate into GuMiho with 1 or 2 production cycles of bio, especially now that Marauders are getting added into the mix. Just running over the army of soO. Oh, it's going to be 3-3 against 1-1 in a moment even.
We're at the third. Yeah, perfect timing here with the upgrades. Another fight's going to happen over here. The target is going to be just to the left side of the screenshot. There it is, that base over there. And
this Zerg army is just going to melt.
Yeah, I mean, this should be the very end of this game here.
A small group of bio just destroying Roach Ravager. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's going to be a GG. GuMiho takes game 1 in a much more impressive fashion. Although I got to say, man, soO really up against the ropes there that whole game. Fought really well.
Yeah, I feel like soO played the early game quite well up until he decided to commit to this, what, 35, 36 drone timing attack, which just completely fell flat. He got basically no value out of it at all when GuMiho was going 3CC as a follow-up to the early aggression, which on paper should be what allows you to punish him.
Yeah.
And so then from there, GuMiho's had the upgrade advantage. He hit a sick 1-1 timing, had some favorable trades, and soO got locked into this army composition that just does not scale whatsoever. And GuMiho coming in with the drops, sniping the 12 o'clock hatchery, dropping at 9 o'clock, finding no base, and then killing both evolution chambers leads to, what, 3-3 versus 1-1 at the end?
Yeah, you know, there were a couple moments where it felt like soO almost flipped the game, but every time it got close, the upgrades finished perfectly for GuMiho. And it was like that tug of war. Eventually, he was able to just kind of get that last pull through. Guys, we're ready for game 2 in this final best of 3. Okay, we got soO in the bottom left, GuMiho in the top right. One of the things I wanted to talk about in that last game was like what soO did was pretty cool, but it didn't quite work, that attack at the start.
Do you mean the very first attack or the second one?
The very first attack, that then kind of led into the second attack, right? He was kind of stuck on Roach Ravager after that for a long time.
I think it was playable from that position. I mean, it didn't kill GuMiho outright, but he was droning behind it. Was something like, what, a 10 worker lead there for soO? I don't mind that too much, you know? He got a lot of damage done. GuMiho lost pretty much all early momentum. By the way, GuMiho mixing it up again. I think he's going for the old Yun build. First time he's busted this one out tonight, the 2-rack sweeper on the low ground.
Oh, yeah, look at this. I feel like every GSL day this year and last year we talk about this build, but I feel like GuMiho is the least likely to do this.
Yeah, this is what, 1 out of 5 games so far that he's done this now? 6?
Yeah.
6. 1 out of 6. It might catch soO off guard. A lot of these players against him are going for pretty fast third bases. They just kind of sneak out the drone to the third quite early, dodging the Reaper.
So this build's interesting in that you can control their third base if you do it right. But there's some I guess not scouting tricks, but you can hide the drone, like you were saying, State, and try to circumnavigate the punish.
The thing is, that works against the build that GuMiho was doing before, where he would go for just 1 Reaper. But I think that GuMiho now throwing down the 2 racks after in 5 straight games going for essentially the same opening, although it branched off in different directions later on. He might just want soO to throw down that 3rd hatchery so that he can completely deny it and gain some momentum. And so it makes me wonder how many Reapers he's going to build exactly. I'm guessing at least 4.
Yeah, we've had some where they get up to 3.
Yeah, it's 3 or 4. Yeah, 4th one gets started.
Yeah, and then there's I've seen 1 or 2 games where they just keep making them for a little bit. I wonder how long this is going to stay in the meta, too.
I don't think it's going anywhere unless we have a patch.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just such a good build to throw into a Best of X series, and Beyond has demonstrated time and time again how good it is at actually holding on against early aggression as well. Back when Beyond was the first and only player really doing this build in the GSL, there were a couple of Zergs that would try Roach Ravager busts or Roach Ravagers with Lings to try and come in, punish him, especially on maps where his add-on would be on the unfortunate side, the exposed side of the wall, just because of the way the map is laid out and the asymmetry of StarCraft 2. And Beyond, of all people, was always able to hold on. I feel like we maybe what casted him die once out of all of the pushes, and even then I'm not even sure if it was once or if it was somebody else.
Yeah, he really proved it works.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Beyond was oftentimes criticized for being, like, maybe sometimes gimmicky. Like, this is just weird. Oh, hold on a second.
50 HP.
Yeah, he's going to have to cancel it. So the opening build, the ideas of it totally pan out.
Yeah, it accomplished its goal.
Yeah, the Zerg doesn't get to develop normally. And behind it, Terran takes the 3rd command center. So this is like a win all around here for the Terran. Just to complete that idea from before, yeah, you know, it's funny when Beyond came out with this, originally it felt kind of like it was like a trick. And that surely like a good player would just figure out a way to kind of maneuver it and navigate it. But even to this day, it's still really good.
It's so good that some players will almost exclusively do it in TVZ now, even top tier players. And so for somebody like GuMiho to mix it in is just so valuable because it's another build that your opponents need to prepare against. And oh man, these grenades, he's trying to get one of these queens.
Oh my God. So one of the funny things is that we don't normally see that many Reapers after this part. So this is kind of like a little cheeky, sneaky move where after you think the action's done and the 3rd base can finally start, he comes in again and tries it again. I almost feel like he could have gotten that queen. He kind of like pushed it in and then pushed it away.
Yeah, it's hard to micro those grenades perfectly, but I think more importantly for GuMiho, he wants to do damage to the queens and not lose any Reapers because he's doing one of the most Beyond follow-ups of all follow-ups. He went 3 racks behind it.
Yeah.
So it's 3 barracks in total. The engineering bay is very delayed, only just now getting thrown down. The factory, I believe, only just now finishing as the starport fires up. And those grenades mixed in with a ton of stem bio early on in the push have huge damage. It's almost like you're playing like a MOBA and it's like you're stun locking them.
Yeah.
In a big fight, which it sounds wonky, but the way that it pairs well, or the way that it pairs with these kind of 3 barracks openings just works so well, especially in the early game. This has a lot of potential to get damage done. We do not have that many Lings out here for soO. He only has 12 Lings and 8 Queens. Stim is done.
There's no medevac here, so there's no way to heal. So it's like high risk, high reward.
Oh.
Is he going to pull away?
I almost wish he just committed.
But
instead,
I almost kind of respect it more if he does pull away, though, instead of just kind of going for it. But yeah, he's going to pull away.
I was wondering about this because he didn't send all these units that he's accumulating on his side of the map.
Yeah.
He just kind of banked them back at home, and so this just forces a huge round of Lings.
But it works, right? Because it forces an overreaction here.
Love that shot of
what happened?
It was like 4 supply depots getting thrown down. Then you decided on 3. GuMiho just got like Giga supply blocked.
Yeah.
Happens to the best of us.
His maneuver worked, though. He forces Zerg to overreact. And
nice pick.
I mean, I got to say, this is kind of a cool way that GuMiho's played this out so far.
Yeah, and now I feel like because he saved all the bio, and I mean, we talk about him sharking across the map and forcing all these Lings and eventually bailings out of his opponent. That's the kind of thing that can slow down the Zerg economy as a bit of a hiccup.
Yeah.
And then you come out with the Medivacs and with 1-1 here as GuMiho, which is clearly what he's building up towards. And I think it's going to get very scary here for Zerg.
Yeah, I mean, for Zerg, he's been on the receiving end of everything. The drop is going to come in here at this bottom base. He's going to drop it out of vision. He actually might just be able to come in here, stim, and kill this.
Oh, Creep Tumor reveals it. Scan goes down.
Will that spoil the surprise attack?
I don't think he's going to get a hatchery, right?
He's going to go behind the minerals and try to optimize damage.
Meantime, look at this. Third base right now is getting attacked. Don't have a shot of it on screen because there's a counterattack at the Terra Natural. Man, there's action happening everywhere on the map. These Marines do get cleaned up in front of soO's third. And now GuMiho just pivoting into the main base here with this drop. Should be able to get at least a couple of drones, but some nice reactions so far by soO, man. He's doing a great job of holding on here.
Yeah, well, this fight's going to be forced here because otherwise he's going to lose his spawning pool. I think he might just end up losing the spawning pool. That can actually cause other drops later to get out of control.
Yeah, he didn't start rebuilding the spawning pool until just now, and I don't even think he has a Roach Warden, so this is going to completely stop his production for a few moments. So the fortunate thing is for soO here is I don't believe GuMiho is that much more army ready for an immediate follow-up attack. In fact, he's only throwing down a 4th command center just now, so it's not like the spawning pool going down could potentially be a game-ending move, but this is still very annoying here for soO because he's baking this larva. He wants to build at least some lings right now for sure. Instead, he effectively has to drone. He's kind of forced into droning because what else are you going to use that larva on in this stage? And
right. No, he's got to do something with it, and now this push is going to come out. Again, droning was the only option. He didn't even have like a decision tree to follow.
44 lings in production just shows what a traffic jam it was, waiting for that thing to free up.
Is this actually enough for Terran? Can he actually make this work? I feel like he'll probably bail from this position in a sec.
I think this is mostly designed to levy pressure and deny the creep spread here in the middle because soO, one thing soO's done really well so far today just in general, I feel like better than he's done in the past, is his creep spread has been so much more on point in this GSL than in previous GSLs. I mean, despite all the pressure that's been put on him, at the 9-minute mark, he, at some stages, was pretty much halfway across the map with his creep already. Which is quite remarkable, considering he went up against a 5 Reaper opening.
Well, it looks like he almost gets the surround. Obviously, this is just going to be about GuMiho trying to squeeze out as much damage as possible.
Nice focus fire on those Bailings. One of them does survive, gets a hit on one very unfortunate Marine.
So this is what I was a little bit worried about with that setup we had earlier, is like GuMiho's got a lead, but if he just throws units away, he's not going to have the kind of momentum later on. soO, kind of the same story. He's going to come in here now, see what damage he can get done. GuMiho going to be taking his 4th base in a second here. 2-2's about to finish.
Yeah, +2 carapace is already done for soO. It's one of the big reasons why these fights have been so favorable for him. Is that soO, this game as opposed to the previous game, well, I mean, he didn't go for that attack that just completely failed.
Right.
So that helps quite a bit. But his upgrades have been very on point, keeping pace with the Terran. Hive now starting more Banelings in production as soO's really just fully powering up right now. And I feel like he's gotten to the stage in the game where he has navigated all the tricks that GuMiho has up his sleeve, and I think soO is going to be really comfortable with this position from here, man.
I agree. I think soO's going to be tough to beat from here on out. Even though I think the early game was really strong from GuMiho, I think that soO's basically played it fine. He's weathered the storm, so to speak.
Oh, this Widow might get so much damage done. In fact, actually not the best hit right there. Instead just going to vacate this position. Could be a tricky spot to attack into with Ling Bane, but soO made it work.
Another little attack comes in here. Now this isn't going to get that much done, but it's pretty low risk as long as he can pick up and get back out.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a timer because of those 8 Hydras on the map, but...
So, when we talk about GuMiho, we always say that he can kind of do everything. I do feel like out of all the Korean Terrans we have, he maybe isn't as strong as the rest when it comes to late game bio like this with tank.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I would say it feels more like the mid game is the weak spot for him with his bio.
Well, he just seems to push out and then try to hold these positions that we know he can't keep. And so then he hemorrhages a bunch of his army, and then he's just not as strong later on.
Yeah, he almost plays a little bit of an older style of Bio now that I think about it. The way that he tries to control the map, mostly with, you know, Marine medevac tank.
It's like he tries to get a foothold somewhere, but he's never committed to pushing from it. And then eventually the Zerg just makes enough stuff, they just go kill it off.
He also seems, compared to a lot of the really strong Bioterrans, such as Cure, such as Maru, a little bit slow in the transition off of this sort of composition to Ghost. I think only just now is the Ghost Academy. I almost said the Ghost Port. I couldn't think of what the building was called. Only just now is the Ghost Academy getting thrown down. Is another engagement here in the middle of the map. Actually, some pretty good Baneling connections off of Creep there for soO, but GuMiho is going to stick it out. These Marines kiting all the way back into the Widow Mines. Lasers firing off. That was a good hit there with the Widow Mines, but soO just has so much. That was a nice trade for 86 drones in total. I mean, he hit right before 3-3 was done there for Terran, so it was a little bit of an anti-timing there for GuMiho.
Yeah. And, I mean, Zerg can ramp back up and try to max out again. I feel like on this map, the distance for Terran to push is so long, and I don't feel like there's any desirable spot to hit. Oh, and he's going to move it again.
These Widow Mines have potentially got some really big hits off. Aren't re-microed, though. They aren't retargeted on the big clump of Lings, so the Ling's going to continue to flood in. Multiple siege tanks on the left side getting taken out. Does soO just have too much Tasteless?
I mean, he might be able to just run him over here. I don't see a lot of siege tanks. I just see one at the top that's not even in siege mode.
I think he might have just broken GuMiho.
Well, GuMiho just doesn't have any kind of, like, foothold over his own position. Yeah, that's it. GG. Okay, game 3.
Wow.
Kind of a weird ending, right? It looked like there was going to be a small attack in there, and then when it zooms out, there are no tanks in siege mode. There are no Widow Mines to help defend. It's just Marines all separated. But, you know, we were talking about this a little bit in the last game. GuMiho, he knows how to do the build orders, and he understands some of the ideas with it in, like, the standard play. But he doesn't seem to have a whole lot of power when he finishes getting all his building blocks in place.
I feel like he's the kind of player that does this style, and if he has a good early game and mid game and can snowball with it, he does that perfectly fine. But in a match like this against soO, where soO navigated what was honestly a very tricky early game with a 2-rack sweeper that was able to deny the third, the first time GuMiho's done that build tonight, with a follow-up of 3 racks where GuMiho feigned this big stim push and then instead retreated, forced these Lings out, and opted instead for a 1-1 timing. soO dealt with all of that very well. He didn't panic. He didn't lose his cool. He didn't go for engagements that were unfavorable for him. He droned just the right amount where he could handle the pressure and still have the economy behind it. And he just kind of built the momentum from there. So soO playing a really miraculous game number 2. And this next match going to decide who's going on to the round of 8 and who is going home.
Okay, this is it, guys. The final game of the evening. One player goes on, the other one is out. GuMiho in the bottom left, soO in the top right. I do feel like GuMiho has to kind of go... He's got a choice here between traditional normal play and weird play. I think he's got to go in the weird direction. I think he's got to be unorthodox. I think he's got to go with what works.
Yeah, I feel like GuMiho's got to reach back into his little bag of tricks.
You know, it's fine to oscillate between different styles, but he's gone with more kind of standard. You know, if you covered up his ID, I wouldn't think it's him.
Except for the Reynor series. Then
except for that one game.
But the thing was, in that Reynor series, he looked so good at his gameplay. Even when it felt like he was at the brink of death, he was able to claw his way back with a low economy, with a scrappy army, in very tough situations, and still navigate his way to a victory. And that meching play style, even though he did a variety of different styles, I mean, game number 1 was what was like basically Thor battlecruiser in the end game with like 20-something SCVs, into game number 2, effectively battle mech against Broodlords.
Yeah. 2
very different flavors. And they both worked for him in what felt like a lot more of a commanding fashion than the bio play that he's been trying to go against soO, because the bio, he can win with it, absolutely, but...
Yeah, you know, it's going to be kind of odd if he manages to beat Reynor and then just dies out here to soO.
I mean, soO is looking a lot better so far this year than
you know,
times
it's funny
gone past.
because we cast some of these guys, or have casted them for so long that you get used to them performing at a certain level. And then when there is a breakout performance, you realize, like, oh, wow, okay, maybe he really has reinvented himself. Maybe we have to totally, you know, change how we view this player and how they're going to do.
I'm wondering how GuMiho is going to utilize the gold minerals on this map. Because I'm not super sure how that's going to mesh with his style, especially if he goes for something like a, oh, wow, third command center on the low ground planet, too. This is greedy from GuMiho.
I'm curious with, you know, I think we're all still wrapping our heads around this map. I'm curious exactly with this matchup, like, does this tend to work out better for one race and one matchup, or what? You know, obviously, when you get gold minerals right away, you can get more stuff that costs minerals, right? So for Terran, that's like Marines. With Zerg, that's Roaches.
I feel like it's a lot
Zerg
better.
Zerglings too, of course.
Right. I feel like it's a lot better for Terran generally. I mean,
Seems
it almost
like
feels
it,
like
right?
every single one of the maps in the pool are very Terran favored.
There was just
But,
really. Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just wrapping up my thought. You go ahead, Tasteless.
You know, when they were first making the original, this is pre-StarCraft Brood War, by the way. They were first trying to figure out how to make maps. Like some maps, you didn't have gas at your natural expansion.
Right.
You know, and it was like pretty quickly figured out, like, oh, we can't ever have that in a competitive map. But I do like that we're experimenting with these ideas now in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Especially considering, you know, in the pipeline we will eventually have, I'm quite sure, those, I don't know the official terminologies, but we're going to have those healing zones that will get added to the game eventually. I think that should happen. I'm hoping sometimes this year. I would love to see stuff like that and how that changes the way the game is played. And in addition, you know, worker-only pads are another thing that's been added, I believe, to the map editor that map makers in the future can take advantage of. And I know that, generally speaking, a lot of pro players and also a lot of people that just grind the ladder a ton are typically hesitant about these kind of maps, to put it lightly. They're not usually a fan of big shakeups. And, you know, in this map pool, for instance, it is very Terran favored. It's just the vibe that I get watching games played and talking to the pro players. But I don't mind the experimentation. If we can eventually find a way to have unique map features like this, or the ones that are going to be coming in the next few months or next few years, and find a way to make it balanced and fresh, I think that's the best possible situation for everybody.
100%.
And you only get there by experimenting, right?
Yeah, you got to get two top players and you know, put it somewhere in a tournament and throw them together and see what kind of games it creates. And then if there's things that need to be changed, then you make those alterations. So in this game, unsurprisingly, we're seeing both sides ramp up to the tech we were talking about. Bio on one side, Roach Tech is, you know, coming here for the Zerg as well. I guess the question I have for myself is this a game where, you know, the Terran having that extra bio muscle, having the same amount of tanks normally and medevacs normally, but having the extra Marines come out here and maybe having a quicker command center while you're doing it, can Zerg grapple with that? And if so, how?
It's kind of tricky to judge. And this, by the way, has been one of the more passive games, if not the most passive game we've had all night. It's almost 6 minutes. Only the first couple of Lings went down to Hellions. As both players are just very, very greedy with the way they're approaching this game. This one final set. soO already at 66 workers, only just now beginning a lot of Roach production. Just be able to match the Terran army here in the mid game, whereas GuMiho throws down another command center on the low ground at the 6-minute mark. I mean, this is the kind of GuMiho going bio that is really scary to me. You know, the kind of GuMiho that went untouched, that is building momentum, that had this gold base in the back, and then threw a low ground CC at the third and a low ground CC at the fourth.
Well, I think
unpunished.
Also, as long as we see GuMiho not just like set up shop somewhere on the map and then, you know, lose that group of units, then do that a couple times, I think he should be fine. I think he just has to focus, kind of like what Maru does so well, at just kind of building up a death ball, harassing with it, utilizing it, getting value out of these little parts of it, but then regrouping and coming in with a big attack and not bleeding stuff off everywhere.
Really great drop location here for GuMiho, barely out of vision of soO, as it looks like he's trying to set up a little bit of a multi-prong. There's a siege tank maneuvering its way to the middle. It's GuMiho Gonna throw down a scan, clean up some of these creep timbers here down at the south side. Should make this an easier avenue of attack later on in the game. 2-2 in production here for Terran, as well as a second factory. And soO, once again, going back to the Roach Ravager composition here. I'm surprised he's not mixing in more melee upgrades or lings, but I guess he just really wants a powerful mid-game attack like this one as he's coming in on this Planetary Fortress. Absolutely wants to break this position before it's ready. There isn't even combat shields yet done for GuMiho. Maybe a little bit too greedy. This is a strong push, Tasteless.
Yeah, he's got to drop behind this. He's going to send these infantry in here from behind, but I feel like the Terran army was never able to group up.
Oh, the Queens even!
I didn't even realize!
Yeah, soO's pulling absolutely everything. He never droned past 66. The command center now finally lifting. All the SCVs are going to go down. GuMiho might have flown a little bit too close to the sun in terms of greed.
Yeah, this is potentially over. I mean, the Queens are going to keep coming. The Ravagers are setting up. He just has to, just blow out this wall in. As the Queens come up, the transfuses can come down. The Biles are looking really good. He's going to try to advance. The tank's in the back. Another Bile targets it. It goes down. One more tank comes in its place.
Yeah, siege tank goes down. This Bio's doing a good job holding on. All the reinforcement Roaches, though, might be just a little bit too much. The Queen's getting a lot of work done in the back line there, and GuMiho might finally just be broken. He has to lift off the third base. Gonna lose his factory on the low ground as well. +2 infantry weapons almost complete. That should help GuMiho a lot try and stabilize on the high ground, but the question is it just too much damage? Behind it, soO, he's already starting to drone up. He's unseated the 4th command center. He's lifted the 3rd command center. So much economic damage is done, not just to the bases, but also the natural expansion is mining out. The main base is almost mined out. GuMiho has almost no money. It's all up to this attack.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to try to come up the ramp now. I think with 2 tanks, it's going to be hard to pull this off. It's still possible. soO has a choice here. Does he back up and try to play the game out? Does he try to close it out? I think he has to back up.
He might.
There's also an opportunity here for GuMiho to try to advance and catch these Queens as well. Now, with the siege tank set up here, maybe, I guess he doesn't have enough Ravagers though, right?
No, and with 2-2 done, these Marines are doing a lot better of a job at dealing with them. And this has been a pretty favorable trade here for GuMiho when all is said and done. Every single Queen getting cleaned up. I mean, that's not too bad. 4th command center could land back down. But it's kind of a tough position to call. soO's been able to work his way up to 80 drones, but he's kind of, again, locked on this Roach Ravager composition. 2-2 is still maybe about a minute away here for the Zerg player. And GuMiho, although he sustained all of this economic damage, eventually a couple of cycles of production will come through. And soO might have a hard time breaching him, but I say that in soO. He is not trying to tech up. He is not trying to flesh out his tech tree. He's building so many more Roaches, Tasteless. Yeah. And this might just be too much.
I mean, basically, GuMiho has tried to reclaim the exact position as before, and what soO wants to do is come back twice as hard. He wants to punish the fact that GuMiho wants to completely replace what happened from before. He's coming in, a lot more Biles are coming down. If he gets in range of the tanks, the Biles, the Marines are not going to have that. Oh, hold on a second.
And the Planetary is doing a great job of soaking up damage, even with just a couple of SCVs repairing it. Plus, the Biles can never fully connect with those 2 siege tanks in the back line. So GuMiho's standing army is still quite respectable compared to soO's.
GuMiho did a really good job holding that. The gold base is mining out, by the way, so that boost is going to be gone. But yeah, I think soO may have slightly overextended. I think he got a little bit too ambitious here. And he's going to try to attack it again. This is right as these upgrades are about to finish here for level 3.
Yeah, 2-2 right now. Terran versus Zerg, but GuMiho, I mean, this is enough bio, I think. You can just kite back into the siege tanks and into the planetaries. soO needs to start working on plan B. And I don't think he's going to, Tasteless. No, he's not taking additional gases. He's not getting 3-3. He's not going for the Hive even to unlock 3-3. He just wants to end the game. Right now, this composition and the supplies, they tell a story, but really it's the army supplies. GuMiho's army, especially with 3-3 finishing, it's very formidable. Biles raining down on the siege tanks. soO has to break GuMiho.
Yeah, it's not even like a double down. It's like a triple or quadruple down here. The infantry is looking very, very strong here for GuMiho. He's able to slice through all of that. Tanks still remaining in the background, and I think soO is going to, well, you know, I was about to say he's going to slowly realize he overextended. Apparently not. Apparently he's just going to continue to make Zerglings and Roaches. I think we've all been in games like this where you just are stuck doing something. Look, it might still work, but it is going to be tragic if he loses under these circumstances.
Yeah, this is very close right now for GuMiho. It's actually quite ambitious of him to put these Marauders over here on this side of the map with these two medevacs, although it will force a response here from soO. The issue for soO is that this fourth base is so hard to break. The Planetary Fortress tucked away like this, where you can't really get much of an arc on it. No Banelings, but there isn't a lot of bio or siege tanks anymore because the Marauders went to the top side of the map. GuMiho perhaps overextending. If soO can take down this Planetary, it will be huge for him.
He needs to start to damage the exterior here with these SCVs on it and try to bio that down. Can he get it? He does manage to drive the SCVs away. It goes down. That was basically the foothold over there for that base.
Yeah, and the third base is basically wide open over there at the 9 o'clock position. I mean, these Marauders, yeah, they are denying the mining over here at the gold base, but soO has many other bases fully mining. For GuMiho now, he has to pull these SCVs. I think he might have gotten a little bit greedy in terms of army. If those Marauders are back at home, he might have a chance to defend, but Tasteless, I don't know if he can hold on anymore.
Yeah, I think this last tank is going to fall, and that should be that. He's going to have to lift the CC off again.
But keep in mind, the army supply is still very even. All of the lead here in supply for soO is in terms of workers. It's not in terms of army.
That's true. There
is a world where GuMiho is able to claw this one back, but I don't know how many universes there are in the multiverse. GuMiho probably only wins in one of them. Is that the universe we're in right now, Tasteless? I don't know.
That is the question. I mean, you're right. The reality is GuMiho could lash back and maybe somehow get into a spot where, you know, counterplay could actually work for him.
But it has to happen right now.
The thing is, again, it's going to be with exactly what GuMiho has right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like already perhaps too much time has passed. soO's doubled his army supply in the last minute or so because economy is just so powerful, and I feel like this next blow might be the ending one here for GuMiho.
Yeah, like the push is going to come up here. Now, Ravagers have a hard time, you know, optimizing for damage against bio because the bios won't really connect to him. You can kind of pick up and stim and run away or whatever. But I think at this point in time, there's just too much of everything that is Zerg right now to ever directly deal with his army. So he can play keep away all he wants, but he's going to have to eventually deal with the inevitability of the push that's headed towards this base. It's coming in here right now.
Let's keep in mind, though, GuMiho is a master of these scrappy situations, trying to take down this triangle third base, but there's just enough to reinforce, and there's nothing to protect the main here for GuMiho. If soO just walks on top of the production, I think that might just be it.
Yeah, he has to make sure he has enough to deal with this back at home, though. This is an insane amount of units.
I don't think he will until he loses more army. In fact, no, he's going to go back home. He's pulling everything back home. He's not getting on top of the production.
Yeah, he's just decided all he has to do is deal with this, defend. He can always send one more attack to the only obvious base that could be taken here right now.
Oh, the medevac's getting picked off here is brutal
the
for
Spores
GuMiho.
are heroes right now.
With GuMiho doing everything he possibly can to stay in this game. Even the Queen coming in from the high ground, going to be able to snipe two more medevacs. Only one remains. And GuMiho, 0 minerals per minute right now. He's only just resaturating the natural expansion.
This is it. This game should be moments away from ending here. GuMiho digesting the loss. You know, looking at what he's got, he has an army supply of 44 with 16 workers. Zerg is not far away from maxing out again. You know, Roach Ravager, you max out very quickly. He's going to send a medevac out again. I think there's a lot of ways to end this game. There are maybe, at least for soO, there's probably 0 ways to win this game here for GuMiho. He can, if he wants to, split his army in two and attack the expansion at one spot and defend it back at home.
I just feel like there just isn't enough supply anymore. GuMiho try as he might to stabilize. Eventually, the ending blow will come. soO is so close to that max supply. And the issue for GuMiho is just he really has no way to get back online in terms of economy. He hasn't even produced an SCV in this time because he knows he can't secure the additional base. He's lifting from, I believe, his main to take this expansion over at 10 o'clock. And, oh,
Well, I feel like this next attack is going to sledgehammer this spot wide open.
Yeah, but I mean, what a moment here for soO.
Well, I'll tell you, man, I got to say, soO, I thought he was going to lose first today.
I was thinking so, too. I had him pegged as the underdog.
Yeah, and here he is. He's going to be surviving this group. He's going to flatten GuMiho. And that's going to be that. GG. soO going on into the round of 8.
For what feels like the first time in a very long time, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, soO, he's been fighting for his life. Very often the first player picked in the group stages because he just isn't getting the respect that he deserves anymore. But from the last GSL and now in this GSL, soO is looking so much stronger than the soO of the past. It's really inspiring to see him come back.
Yeah, you know, I thought there were a lot of possible outcomes today. I have to say I'm kind of surprised with every result we had, minus Hero getting out.
Yeah, I mean, what a fantastic day here at GSL, and soO in a really close series here against GuMiho, just barely able to edge it out.
You know, it's funny. There was a period where soO was like, I'm going to win this game exactly this way. I'm not going to transition out of this. I am going to lock in. I'm going to keep hitting him as hard as I possibly can. I don't care if he counterattacks. I'm just going to force him to lift. Impressive stuff, though.
In the end, it was the right call. Maybe if GuMiho doesn't go for the drop with all those Marauders on the other side of the map, there is a world where he defends and holds on. But at the same time, there is GuMiho. How do you know that your opponent is just fully sending it again and again and again? Because if the transition is coming, then yeah, that is the right move to go for the counterplay, to try and get damaged on the other side of the map. But soO just recognized his moment. He's like, no, this is do or die. I am all into this position. Roach Ravager, I am going to kill you. It works, and now soO is going into the round of 8.
All right, we're going to talk with soO after his victory in the final match. Wow, round of 8 after 5 years, soO. Congratulations. We got to see a lot of signature playstyle from you today. And then we definitely saw a post of confidence from you. You infiltrated his main entrance. So what was the overall theme like today for you? Well, recently seO's been on his peak performance. A lot of the players actually try to mimic seO, but they never really are able to do so. So I decided to actually craft my own pass in StarCraft, and I think that really worked out well today. Yes, it was not an easy battle for you, soO, to make it to round of 8. And a lot of the fans have their expectations on you this season. You make it to round of 8, and you are off to a fresh start in a new team. And Hero actually made it to the round of 8 before you. Did you expect that? No, I didn't really expect that. No, it was a group of deaths for us, so I thought I would get eliminated today. But now that I make it to round of 8, I'm really relieved, and I want to thank my team for supporting me. So in the prior match against GuMiho, you showed good performance. So in the losers match, GuMiho's macro looked really good against Reynor. So what were your thoughts watching him play in that match against Reynor? Well, he opted for the Bionic in his first match against me, and he lost. So I thought he would go for the mechanic in the later match, and I knew that it would be kind of hard to counter that. But thankfully, he went for the Bionic again, so it was an easy win for me, I think. GSL Season 2 Group B, you make it, you secure second place in your group, and now you'll be allocated the same group with Maru. So last time you did lose to Maru 2-1. This time around, maybe you can pull off a revenge against him. What do you think? Well, that time I think I thought I would just lose 2-0. But I was able to fight until the end, put up a battle against him. This time, I will actually try to be on the winning side. So performance-wise, in the first set against GuMiho, you went for the roaches and he went for the cyclone. Maybe you should focus on the cyclone first. What do you think? Well, I mean, that build was one that I don't frequently use. It was kind of like an impromptu decision. So I think my skill proficiency wasn't at the level to go for the tactic. So we use the same strategy in Dynasty again? I mean, ZVT is hard, so it's not a map that I usually like to play. I think I'm going to have to practice more on that map. Well, so many Thorny fans, they are cheering for you, they're rooting for you, soO. So any closing thoughts before you head off? I'm sure a lot of fans, they just, they gave up on me because of my usual playstyle, but today I was able to prove them wrong, and I'm really thankful that I was able to do so. I'll try to prove a better performance in the next stage. Thank you.
Excellent work, Andy. Well, there we have it, man.
Yeah, not quite the results I think anybody expected coming into this one, but
yeah,
soO with a pretty tremendous day overall. Hero also absolutely dominating, and I mean, for Reynor, honestly, my heart breaks.
Sad, man. I thought he was going to get out of this group. Me too. I think in his defense, his opponents played really well.
Oh, Hero was out of this world.
Yeah. And
today, beyond any doubt.
GuMiho played some great games.
And GuMiho is also one of the hardest players in the world, if not maybe the hardest to prepare against specifically. Right. Especially in a format like the GSL, where he just has time to cook up basically whatever it is that he wants. As we take a look here at the next match. Next week we're playing Group D, not Group C.
Look
soO,
at Solar's
DRG,
beautiful
Nightmare,
hairdo, man. I love it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's old. No, it's now it's new. It's gone full circle, okay? So we have soO, DRG, Nightmare, and Beyond. In case you're seeing that and you're confused, Group D, what? Weren't we just in Group B? We've had to rearrange the schedule. So Group C will be last. Group D is going to be right after that. Yeah, every Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Yeah. Join us in our studio or join us online.
Although next week, Wednesday, I think 5 p.m. KST. We're going to have a graphic about that later. There's a really cool show match coming up.
We're having StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 2 match coming up. You do not want to miss that.
Yeah, and the way that it works is going to be so cool as well. I took a look at some YouTube videos of people playing it, and there's like a, oh yeah, here we go. We got the StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 2 super match, May 15th, Wednesday, 5 p.m. KST. That is an hour and a half earlier than we typically start. This mod is so cool. They recreated the StarCraft 1 races in the StarCraft 2 engine.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have like StarCraft 1 Terran versus StarCraft 2 Terran in the same match. You're going to see like Marine Marauder exploding to spider mines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I could not be more hyped about this, man.
It's a really
so
cool idea. We're going to have StarCraft 2 pros and StarCraft 1 pros duking it out. Do join us for that and let us know what you think. Maybe we can do more stuff like this in the future, but it's Africa TV kind of going on a limb here.
And I think it's one of the best ideas that we've had in a long time. This is so exciting. Also, you will be able to watch it live here in the studio. I believe you can get the tickets online. Yeah, the link is down there. I think it's Manwon, 10,000 won, which is that like $7 US or $8 US. It's cheap. And
if you want to buy those tickets, our tickets go live every Friday, 5:30 p.m.
Yeah, also for the special event, the StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 2, pretty sure that will sell out almost instantly. It's my guess.
That specifically should, yeah.
I mean, Brood War is pretty big out here, and this is kind of a
overlap of the StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2, so you're going to get audiences from both trying to get that.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the best of both worlds, man. I cannot be more hyped.
Yeah, so other than that, kind of sad Reynor loss, but it was a day of great games, and hope he comes back. You know, GSL is a different tournament. It's tough.
I hope so, too.
I think the players that have played it for a long time and the prep that comes with it, you know, it is a different mindset, it's like a whole other beast. You know?
Everybody knows that Reynor has what it takes to make it deep into GSL. It's just you need a couple iterations of practice in this format.
He can beat any GSL player. The question is, can he beat him in a Code S format?
It's tough.
The prep is very different.
Especially now that GSL is once a week instead of twice a week. I mean, there is just so much
even more time to prep. But it's kind of the only long-form tournament like this. It's live. Of stakes as high as these. Guys, thank you for joining us. We love you. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Incoming transmission.